Most men think attraction is about muscles, money, or pickup lines. They think women are turned on by what they see, but that's not the full truth. Psychology tells us something deeper, something most guys completely miss. Women aren't turned on by appearance alone. They're turned on by behavior, by the subtle things a man does that bypass logic and hit her subconscious. Things she doesn't even realize are arousing her until she starts craving your presence. This isn't about charm. It's about psychological triggers. And the man who understands these 7 behaviors, he doesn't just attract women, he makes them addicted. The first thing that turns women on without them even realizing it: quiet confidence. This isn't loud. It's not cocky. It's not the guy who needs to be seen. It's the man who doesn't need to prove himself, who walks in silence, speaks only when necessary, and stays composed no matter what's happening around him. Psychology calls this emotional groundedness. Women feel it instantly. It's not what you say, it's how little you need to say. And in a world full of men seeking attention, the man who doesn't chase it, he becomes magnetic. He owns the room without raising his voice, and women lean in, wondering who he really is. The second behavior: slow, deliberate movements. Most guys move fast, talk fast, walk fast, text fast, but when a man moves slowly, with intention, he signals dominance on a primal level. In nature, the strongest predators don't rush. They stalk, they pace, they act with precision. When you move with control, you signal to her nervous system, I am not prey, I am the threat. And that subtle message activates her instincts. Her body reacts before her mind understands why. She watches you, she tracks you, because every movement says one thing: you're in control, and control is arousing. Third, the ability to stay calm in chaos. When tension rises, when people panic, when others lose their cool, most men react. But the rare man who remains still, composed, unshaken, he becomes a beacon of stability. This is psychological protection. Her subconscious sees you as a safe harbor, a man who can contain emotional storms. And here's the twist: the man who can contain her emotional storms becomes irresistible, because women don't want to feel like they're too much. They want to feel like their emotions are welcome and manageable. Your calm doesn't make you boring, it makes you needed. Number 4, subtle touch. This isn't about being overly physical. It's about knowing when and how to make contact. A light touch on the lower back as you guide her through a door. A brief hand on her shoulder during a laugh. These moments are micro-signals. Psychology calls them affiliative gestures. They create familiarity. They build intimacy. And when done with confidence, not hesitation, they communicate safety and sensuality. Women aren't turned on by grabby, aggressive hands. They're turned on by intentional touch. Touch that says, I know the rules, and I bend them with precision. The 5th thing that turns women on: depth in your eyes. Not the color, not the shape, but the way you look at her, with presence, with curiosity, with just enough intensity to make her feel seen, but not analyzed. Women are used to being looked at, but they're rarely seen. When a man looks into her, not through her, not past her, but into her, it breaks her defenses. It activates vulnerability, and vulnerability is arousing when she feels safe. Your gaze doesn't beg, it doesn't devour, it simply holds, and in that stillness, she starts to feel naked in the best possible way. Number 6, emotional discipline. Not coldness, not detachment, but the ability to feel deeply without being controlled by those feelings. When a man can express emotion without being emotional, he becomes a rare find. Women test this all the time. They push buttons, they bring up drama. They want to see if you'll flinch, if you stay grounded, if you respond without reacting. You prove you're a fortress. That's attractive, because it tells her, you can bring your chaos here. I won't collapse. She doesn't want a robot. She wants a man who can feel anger, sadness, passion, but not be ruled by any of them. That's masculine energy in its purest form. And finally, purpose. The man who moves with direction, who doesn't explain himself, who isn't waiting for permission to live. Women are magnetically drawn to purpose, because it signals that your life doesn't orbit around her. It orbits around something greater, and that creates sexual polarity. She becomes the satellite pulled into your gravity. When a man knows what he's about, when he protects his time, when he pursues his mission without asking for approval, he becomes the kind of man women respect, crave, and surrender to. Because purpose is rare, and anything rare is irresistible. All of these behaviors have one thing in common. They're not performative. They don't scream for attention. They whisper power. And the man who lives this way, who moves slow, speaks with weight, touches with intent, and lives with purpose, He doesn't need to pursue women, they pursue him. He doesn't need to convince. His energy already confirms. That's the shift. That's the standard. So if you're done trying to impress and ready to start embodying the energy that silently turns her on, this is your space. Subscribe now. Because psychology doesn't just explain attraction, it teaches you how to control it.